This episode sponsored by Lake Monster Details, producing the Don's Light and Magic Legacy line of parts, offering upgrade parts and decals for accuracy, special effects, and lighting. Visit www.lakemonsterdetails.com and make it glow. Also sponsored by GCals, producing aftermarket replacement decals and custom quality graphics for your favorite spaceships. Visit www.gcals.company.site and add some personalization to your sci-fi models today. Hey, what's up guys? Will here. Welcome to the Ensign's Chair. So I am out on the road and it's been about 2 weeks since I put out the last update. I've been doing a lot of updates to the 3D model for the, well, what I'm printing as a 1/250 Reliant. But I've done a lot of updates to it, and I just kind of want to put out an update and kind of go over some of the accurizations that I have added and completed on the model since the last time I talked about it. So give me a minute. I will put you on the bench PC screen and we'll take a look. Stay tuned. All right, let's start by taking a look at some of these improvements I've made to the Gambody, base Gambody files. And first thing we'll look at is the saucer section. Now, I do want to mention that I noticed there's actually 3 versions of the saucer section. There is the smooth version, there is a textured version, and when I was going through the files, I noticed that, let's see, I noticed that there is also a, it says ring clean with font, and basically it's a smooth saucer, but it's got let me import this so I can flip this around for you. But you can see here it's got the registry is embossed on it, so there's also that option. So there's 3 different options for this saucer section. I do want to point out I am only making improvements to the smooth saucer, not to the one with the texture or the one with the font. I don't really have any interest in the one with the font, and I'm therefore not really I'm not gonna dedicate any time to it. So if somebody else wants to get into that, they can. But so the improvements to, or the changes that were necessary to get this a little more accurate, you'll notice this is the version as it comes in the files, and this is the updated one that I've done the changes to. And you'll notice that first of all, the windows are wrong on this saucer edge. They are way off. You're supposed to have this thruster, this RCS thruster is supposed to come over the corner here, and the windows are not under the RCS thrusters. They're actually out, a quarter of the way out on each side. And they're also the wrong configuration. So you can see in the corrected one I've done here, I've set them up to be correct. The correct number, the correct spacing. I'm hoping, I won't know for sure until I print this out and see how it looks lined up with another saucer section. But you can also see that this RCS thruster is nothing but a triangle on the original, and I have gone back and corrected that, so it'll look more accurate now. Somebody did ask about these where they're supposed to be sensor bands. There's only 2 on here. There's 3 on the studio model. I am actually going to probably fill these in after I print and sand them smooth and add the 3 lines in where they are supposed to be, because I gotta look, I don't think these lines are supposed to line up with the thrusters. I think they're supposed to be in between. I don't know for sure. I'll have to go back and look. But you can see after I've made the changes, they don't line up the same. This one is below the thruster. This one is actually lined up with the thruster. And I think it's just going to be easier rather than fix it in the 3D model. I don't have enough experience to really make it do this an easy way. Although I may take a look at it, but I think I'm just going to be after I print this out, go back and just fill these in, putty these, and then come back and sand them smooth, sand this whole face smooth. And then redo, I'm thinking I might do what Boyd had just shown with some high build primer and basically tape off where I want the sensor bands to be, come back with some high build primer and put the sensor bands back in place. I've got a couple other ideas I'm kicking around too to do that. We'll take a look. I'm gonna have to do some experimenting. I don't really want to go into them until I know whether they're gonna work or not, so I'll take a look at that, and when I get to that point and figure out what I'm gonna do with this, I will be sure to go over it with you and let you know what I do. So I've got those two changes, well, three if you count the sensor bands I'm gonna have to change, but I've also added in, you can see these panel details which are missing off of the version as it comes. There are no panels on here, and there's supposed to be these raised panels and then these inset panels for each section. So I've gone and added those back in on each section, and again, I'm not going to go over each section, but they're all, I've made these updates to each section of the panel. You'll just have to take my word for it for now until I print it up, but I can go and show you what the well, let's look at the test fitting, and I'll show you what that looks like all together right now. But I've put all those panels in place, kind of test fitted them in the 3D builder for now, and this will take a couple seconds to load, and I can kind of take you around the model and show you. But those are the updates I've made to the saucer sections. I think it looks a lot better. Definitely a lot more accurate now, and we will know for sure once I go to start putting this together. But for now, I've got the mock-up in 3D Builder here, and you can see how those windows are going to line up. Here's the edge of the quarter, the section there, and it's gonna, the line's gonna come down, so you're gonna have to do some sanding here anyway. That's why I say it's probably gonna be easy for me just to go back, fill in the sensor panels, sensor lines as they are, bands, and come back and sand, because I'm going to do some filling in sanding here. But you can see how that's coming together. I've also gone in and corrected the windows on the sides because they were way off. There were way too many windows, and then there were no windows along this section here, so I've gone in and fixed that, as well as the back I have also corrected. May have to make some adjustments. I'm gonna have to, like I said, when I get those sensor bands in place, it's gonna tell me where I need to make some adjustments at. So it's looking a lot better so far. In addition, I have corrected the windows on this front section here because the model as it comes has way too many windows. They're not in the correct configuration. I have done these as best I can, as close to what the studio model appears to be. And again, there's some bands that go across this front here in between these levels of windows. There's a band that goes here and a band that goes here, and again, I will look to add that using the same, whatever technique I decide to use on the rim. It's probably the same technique I'm going to use up here. And again, later on when I get in the build, I will be sure to show you how I did that. But I think it's looking a lot better. It's looking a lot closer to the studio model. Maybe you liked all the extra windows up here, but it's just not accurate. And a lot of them couldn't be lit up because there were so many. They were running into like bulkheads or supports that were inside the model here. It was just better to take them out and add these back in. Plus, by redoing all these windows, I make sure they are all the same size, and that I don't have like the what I was using or created to make these windows isn't a different size than what was on the rest of these. So now this is all done. I have done the same on this side, and I'm showing you this in the main model because I didn't pull this out separately, but I've done the same on this side, so they're all redone and, as far as I could tell, corrected, along with that change I told you about before where I'd open these vents up in the back here. So it is looking way better. I have not put the corrected saucer on this side apparently because I have not put the bottom in here either, so I haven't finished this side yet. But it's going to be the same as this side, and you can see how that's going to look once that bottom plate is added in as well. So it's coming along really well. Another one I did was, let's take a look at this top panel. what they call a top panel. And this is going to be where your impulse deck is at, your impulse crystal. And let me see if I can find where I have redone that. That's the impulse deck, I think is what I called it. And let's drop that over here. We'll pull this one up over here, and you can see the change that I've made to this. It is a lot more accurate now. I didn't mess with any of this up front. It is not 100% the studio accuracy, but it's good enough to where I'm not going to worry about messing with it. These are actually sunk in more than what this is showing. This is raised, but it's not enough for me to worry about it. I think it looks fine. My main thing was this impulse crystal. You could obviously tell it was way off. It's way too bulky, and in order to light this up, you would have had to print this whole thing in clear. Now what I've done is I put this part in place, and the impulse crystal itself, the clear part, will print up separately, and we'll just insert, kind of like a lot of aftermarket impulse parts are coming now. They'll come separately. So this is going to be the same way. I'll print this, and then this will be printed in resin, and then the other part will be printed in clear resin. So that's how I'm doing that. I think it's going to turn out nice. I'm going to start printing up some test pieces here soon, and we'll get a better look at those when I get those printed up. Let's see, the next thing I'm going to look at is, we looked at this, we looked at this. I don't need these files anymore because I've changed these. Let's look at this wing top. This should be the weapons pod top, yeah. So, and I call it the weapons pod, you know, whatever you want to call it, I don't care, but I'm calling it the weapons pod. And this is the corrected version, hopefully. All right, so right off the bat, you can see the difference here. This is definitely not studio accurate. This one's a little more accurate too. I do have to do a little correction to this because you can see this is kind of off to one side a little bit. So I'll have to go in and fix that. But it's not a hard fix. But you get the idea. This is way off. This is way more accurate to what the studio model looks like. Not 100%, but it's close enough. Again, my goal is just to get this looking as close to the studio model that you would be hard pressed to really kind of sit there and pick things out. And then you can see the other end here. This is definitely way off. This is supposed to be recessed more like this is. And you can see that this didn't quite match up with the curvature, but that's something I will fix after I print. I'll just sand that to where it'll blend in better. Couldn't quite get the angle right in 3D. So it's close enough to where, like I said, I'll come in with some sandpaper after I print it. When I print it, it won't, there's a good chance, those of you that have been doing 3D prints, that this may not be as pronounced as it looks in 3D once it prints. So if it does, I'll just come in, sand it to where it blends in, and we'll be good. But I think that's close enough. This part here was also way off. These panels here, these are actually, I think, gray. These raised areas are gray on the studio model, and these are way too large. So you can see I've come in and made them smaller. I think it looks a lot closer to the studio model. There's a couple things on here that aren't on the studio model, these little recessed areas, but I think it adds just a little more detail, so I'm going to leave them. I'm not going to take them out. And the panel shapes may be a little bit different on this than on the studio model. Again, not something I'm too worried about. But I think it looks a lot better. It looks a lot more accurate, and that is my primary goal here, is to get this at least more accurate than what it is, if not 100%. You know, I think the main thing has been everybody's been clamoring for a 1350 Reliant, and Polar Lights Round 2 has just been reluctant. Jamie's been reluctant to put one out until he can get it as accurate as possible, and so far he hasn't been able to get the accuracy that he wants in order to make it. But I think most of us would agree that I'll take something that is 90-95% there. I'm not too worried about it being 100. All right, the last update I need to show you is the back part here. This is the Impulse engine, and let's see, where did I put that? Reliant Impulse engine. So we'll pull this up and I'll show you what I've done here. But you can see on this that the paneling is incorrect on this. It's not even close to what the studio model is. I've gone in and added the paneling. This bottom part I couldn't get a real good view of, so I've kind of just taken it down a little bit from as pronounced. I made it a little bit less pronounced as it was on this one. And then I've added in these two little squares, which are blue on the studio model. Again, not 100% accurate, but they're there. And then I've added some grills in. We'll see how this prints up. I don't know how well this is going to print up. These slats, I may have to change the dimensions on them depending on how it prints up. Once I do a test print, we'll see, and hopefully it prints out nice. And if it does, what I've got is some lenses. I'll show you that in a second. But just to point out again, this is a little more accurate than what it came with, and I'm happy with it. So we'll go with that. But in addition to that correction, I have also done some lenses that can be printed in clear. I'm thinking about printing these in the clear smoke resin that I've got, and see how that does, and light them up with red LEDs in the back, and I'll figure that lighting out. But I do have clear lenses that are ready to go in there, so get those printed up and get that lit up. And I think that's pretty much it, guys. It's coming together. You can see some of the parts I put on here. I also want to mention I did correct. You had these will have to be sanded out a little bit more once I print it up, but not a whole lot of sanding. But you can see where I've added in these three lights that are missing. This one's missing completely. These two are way too low. They're not supposed to be under. This still might not be. It's probably supposed to be more here, but it's kind of hard to put it on the seam. So I'll put it just a little bit off, a little bit higher than what it should be. It should be probably right around where this seam is. But that's going to be a pain in the butt if I put it there. So this is definitely way too low. They're not supposed to be under the shuttle bay. They're supposed to be kind of at this corner here. And this shape for this corner of the shuttle bay isn't correct yet. I'm going to go and look at correcting that. It should be a little bit curved here. And I've also got to go in and try to add in openings for the light panels that light up that back shuttle bay door. I've got to go in and add that in yet, so I'll be working on that. I did drop this triangle here, was too high, so I did go in and lower that so it's more matched up with the same level as this one. And I think it's going to turn out pretty nice. You can see how that impulse engines are going to look mounted in place, and the impulse deck. And again, this little depressed area here is not 100% studio, but it's close enough. It's not something I'm going to worry about messing with. But here's just an overview, and you can see how it's coming along. I think it's going to turn out nice once it's finished. And we'll start getting some test prints in here and making some more adjustments. I may do some more work on this docking, the dock here for the saucer section. In the studio model, it's really not much more than a raised square. I think there was actually more detail on this on the models that AMT Polar Lights Round 2 put out. But I'm going to take a look at that, get some more pictures to look at for that, and I may add a little more detail to this door here. But just an overview, guys. It's coming along. I think it's going to look nice. If you can deal with the remaining inaccuracies that are on it, like I said, this will come in a default file of 1.350. Well, it comes in a default file 1.350 from Gambody. I am looking at being able to, I know a lot of people have been asking about the corrected parts, being able to get a hold of those. I will not share, like I said previously, I will not share the Gambody files, but I am able to, these sections where I'm able to get these corrected, these files singled out, I will share those. And I may look at, if you have the Gambody files, which you're going to have anyway, because I will not provide this as a full model. You're going to need the game body files either way. But some of these sections, like this saucer section, I can't really take the windows out separately. But if you have the game body files and you can provide proof in some way, again, this is just something I'm looking at, that you have the game body files, I may also provide the corrected sections where I can't really separate it out from this part. But I will at no point provide a full buildable model of this. You will need the game body files, and then I will try to provide these corrections separately as an add-on. So still in the early works on that. We'll take a look at it, but I know a lot of you have been asking about it, and I will try to accommodate you. But my first goal is to get this built and see how it goes together, and let everybody else see how it goes together and make a decision from there. So anyway, guys, that is pretty much just a quick update on the improvements, corrections I have made, revisions if you want, to this model. And I think it's coming along nicely. It'll build nice, it'll look good, especially at 1.350. And again, as we go along, I'll keep you updated. These are just updates I'm giving. I won't start an actual build series till I get this, all these changes made, and I start doing some test prints and seeing how this goes together, and then I will start doing an actual build series on this. But again, guys, thank you everybody for watching. I hope those of you that are interested in this, that are keeping an eye on it, have gotten some more information out of it and see where I'm going with this, and hopefully you approve. But if you don't, sorry. But anyway, guys, thanks again for watching. Till next time, keep modeling.